Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing an extremely unbalanced team in the Open Great League that helped me climb to 2962 ELO. I do want to offer an important word of warning. This is not a team that I recommend that my viewers try for themselves. This team automatically loses to any Bastiodon. It's ABA weak to Azumarill. It's very unbalanced because I built it to try and counter the meta that I was seeing. And the meta that I was seeing was completely disrespecting Talonflame as a Pokemon. I was running a balanced team and kept losing to teams that were like triple weak to Talon, and that's how I ended up with this team, was I just wanted to run Talonflame. Hopping into the first match, we see an amazing lead leading into Shadow, Alolan Sandslash, in comes Annihilate, and they're completely core broken by the Talonflame. I can no-shield the Night Slash very confidently here, but the Annihilate gets the Night Slash boost. You've got to be kidding me. And now this matchup gets a lot more difficult. Flame Charge will boost up my attack. I continue to farm. Opponent tries to go for the CMP tie, but they give me 20 free energy. Thank you so much, trainer. I bank the energy, snipe with licks from the Lickitung, and my opponent is going to send back in the Shadow Alolan Sandslash. Sandslash is going to be spamming out these charge attacks pretty quickly, but that's very okay. My Lickitung is just going to be used as a giant meat shield here, and I just need to throw these charge attacks to also burn my Switch Clock. The Switch Clocks are very misaligned in this matchup, but the more charge attacks I throw, the closer my Switch Clock is to being up. I continue to farm opponent, letting themselves get very low, and they play to a CMP tie, and that works out great for me. As I have a move on my Talonflame, I can just win charge attack priority with the fly. So they're going to have to give up their final shield if they want this energy. They're pretty low, so they let it go. In the back, it's Mantine. I'm going to be able to make it to a fly, and then I'm going to switch into the Guzzlord. If they have Ice Beam, this is a bit awkward, but I do survive an Ice Beam. Like, an Ice Beam is not going to be able to one-shot. So I'm just going to send in the Guzzlord and no shield. Let's see if they have it. They go for an Aerial Ace, so either that's a bait, or they just don't have the Ice Beam. I'm going to farm up to the back-to-back Dragon Claws. Not the greatest timing here from me. I'm at the back-to-back, and my opponent is at the back-to-back as well. It looks like the double Dragon Claw won't quite be enough to KO, but I have a very straightforward path to victory. I shield this in case it's the Ice Beam. It's not, and my opponent has another Aerial Ace, but an Aerial Ace is not going to be enough to KO the Guzzlord. Guzzlord able to KO the Mantine and take the win. Moving to the next match, getting Talonflame into an extra small Cresselia. Opponent safe switches into their Lickitung. I'm going to farm up 2 Incinerates and then send in Guzzlord. Part of the reason why I wanted Guzzlord on the team is I needed something that completely destroyed Lantern. So a very hard check to Lantern, but I also wanted a pretty good check to a Lickitung safe switch. And Guzzlord honestly fills both those roles very nicely. I'm going to farm up a lot of energy with the Guzzlord. They're not in crunch range, so it is going to be safer to go for a double Dragon Claw. Double Dragon Claw actually won't quite KO here either. I believe they're going to live this on like 1 HP. They end up shielding, so they're trying to make a play for switch. This tells me that they actually do have a good answer for Talonflame in the back, and I need to not give up switch. So I am going to get the full farm down in the back. They have Azumarill. Azumarill, one of these Pokemon that this team is really weak to. It's ABA weak to the Azumarill, but the good news is the Azumarill is going to get stuck against my Lickitung, so this game is just immediately over. The fact that they switched out the Cresselia means that they're probably on Moonblast instead of Future Sight, so they should just be walled. I can now send in the Lickitung. The energy they throw here is completely irrelevant. The only way they win this game is by basically having their Azumarill 1v2, because Cresselia, it's highly unlikely since they switched out that they are on the Future Sight. They send in the Cresselia, and I can send in the Talonflame. And as the Talonflame player, you do want to throw your moves in a very specific order, and that's going for the Flame Charge first, and then it allows you to make 2 more flies, but you get those flies after only 2 Incinerates. Whereas if you go Flame Charge, Fly, then you actually have a 3-2-3 pacing, but Flame Charge, Fly is 3-2-2. So as the Talonflame player, you do typically want to go for this particular pacing. Is now, I can just get the KO, in comes the Azumarill. Azumarill, they realize they just have no win con, and they resign the match. Moving to the next match, leading Talonflame into Empoleon. This is going to look weird, but I'm going to stay in here. And that's because Talonflame wins the 2s versus Empoleon. Empoleon, Steel Wing helps it in almost every matchup, but it makes it worse into Talonflame. is Talonflame has 2 shields. Talonflame is just going to be able to boost with a Flame Charge, double shield, and incinerate down and leave with boosted energy. And if they're leading Empoleon, there's probably stuff in the back that doesn't want to deal with Talonflame energy. They send in Sableye. I land 2 boosted Incinerates, save 100 energy on the Talonflame, and I send in Lickitung. Lickitung, more than happy to absorb energy from the Sableye. Lickitung makes it to the Power Whip. This is close to Power Whip range. It is going to be, oh, they live it, but they get greedy and they don't get to throw any energy. Back in comes the Empoleon. Empoleon will be met with a Body Slam. Body Slam, it's resisted, but this Empoleon is running out of HP. It gets KO'd. In comes the Gligar, and this is just instantly game over. I can go for the Body Slam, and I have 2 flies stored on the Talonflame. So I can just send in the Talonflame, go for the back-to-back flies. My opponent, let's see, did they go for a CMP tie here? No, they did not, but it looks like they may have CMP'd on this one, but they know, they haven't seen the third. There's just no chance they're winning this game. Talonflame's energy is just very, very strong, and we take the win. Same lead in the next match, but I'm going up against the 2-time regional champion, Lyle Jeffs. He save switches into Shadow Whiscash. I respond with the Lickitung, but Shadow Whiscash is just horrifyingly strong. It has the ability to flip this, especially after getting an attack drop on the very first one. I'm going to build up to the Power Whip and bait with the Body Slam. An argument could be made that I shouldn't have thrown the Incinerate. I should have expected him to switch and then tried to get the Lickitung into this matchup sooner, but he is going to Mud Bomb bait me, make it to the Scald, and I just lose switch advantage. This is really, really rough. And if he switched out, he's probably on Moonblast, which means that, unfortunately for me, my Guzzlord is not going to be having an amazing day. I'm going to send in the Talonflame. I'm able to make it to the fly. He shields. Now, this is very interesting. I think I have to save a shield for a potential Moonblast, so I am going to no shield. He baits with a Mud Bomb, and suddenly, things get very, very interesting. I'm going to be committing the shield as he does go for the Scald, fishing for a debuff. He gets the debuff, he saves the Whiscash for later, and he sends in Cresselia. Cresselia, I mean, I can't bring in my Guzzlord because he's probably on Moonblast. And Moonblast, double super effective damage. I just cannot let that happen. I'm going to go for the Fly. I'm not quite able to make Fly number 2 quite yet. My opponent is going to fire off their energy, and it is going to be a Moonblast. I make the Fly, this is going to KO, and then I just need to look to switch out of this matchup if they send in something that isn't the Whiscash. I'm waiting and watching. They send in Sableye, and I accidentally hit the Incinerate button, and I lose to Talonflame. This is really not good. The Shadow Sableye is not going to have an amazing time against the Guzzlord, but now losing the Talonflame definitely hurts. I wait the turn to make sure he can't catch and go for the Crunch. It all comes down to whether his Whiscash has energy. I had lost count, and the Whiscash did have energy. That's very unfortunate. Lyle, he's just an incredibly difficult man to beat. GG's. Moving to the next match, leading Talonflame into another Alolan Sandslash. They save switch into Altaria. I don't have an amazing counter switch, so I'm just going to stay in with the Talonflame and go for the Fly. Fly will deal some very valuable chip damage. Opponent commits the shield, and now that I have a shield advantage, I feel a lot more comfortable sending in the Guzzlord. I'm more than happy to shield myself, and then just look to farm up slightly and go for the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw will come very close to knocking out here. Altaria barely able to hang on, but they do not make it to another move. In comes the Alolan Sandslash, and the Sandslash is on Powder Snow. Powder Snow, of course, going to be applying a lot of fast move pressure and meaning that I'm only going to be able to get one move. They leave with a ton of energy. I can wait the timer here, and then back in comes the Talonflame. In comes the Talonflame. They stay in to throw their move, so this Incinerate is going to register and nearly knock out. In the back, it's a Lantern, and we have the Lickitung ready for it. They were able to bait out the Guzzlord, which is my hardest check to Lantern, but Lickitung can still do well enough here, especially getting the shield call right on the Thunderbolt, that I should be in a commanding position in this matchup. My opponent knows that I'm going to be able to fire off 2 Power Whips, so they are just going to let the first through, but by no shield in the first, now I'm going to force them to shield Body Slams. The Body Slam is going to be shielded. Lickitung just needed to make it to a Body Slam, and I get there, and it ends up being charge attack priority. But a Thunderbolt is not going to KO. That's not going to be an issue whatsoever. And we'll have to see how much is left of the Sandslash. Back in comes the Sandslash. They had like 1 HP left and were able to take the win. We see another good lead in the next match. Talonflame into Shadow Magnezone. Both Pokemon hit each other for super effective damage here, but this just shows the absolute power of Incinerate, just shredding through the Magnezone. They bait with the Mirror Shot, save switch into Lickitung. I can build up to 100 energy. I'm going to go for a Fly because I'm going to be switching out. I want to preserve a Fly for later, and then I can just send in the Guzzlord. And this will allow me to exit this matchup with energy that I can use to threaten the Magnezone if they decide to send it back in. So the Lickitung, well, they end up actually giving me an entire Dragon Tail for free, which is very, very nice. Body Slams are going to start to add up, but I can go for the Dragon Claw. This will come very close to knocking out. The Dragon Claw doesn't knock out, but that just gives me farm. If they send in the Magnezone, then, I mean, I'm just going to be able to go for the Dragon Claw. They send in a Wigglytuff, so they are incredibly weak to Talonflame. Aiden comes to Talonflame. I'm going for the Flame Charge. Let's start boosting up our damage. The Flame Charge is going to be shielded. In comes the Magnezone, dealing some significant damage, but I'm still able to make it to the Fly. This will force the shield, and from here, I've done enough damage that I can win the game with Lickitung. They're going to be able to apply a debuff with an Icy Wind, but they've already lost close to half their HP. So even though I am debuffed and my fast move is double resisted, I can go for a debuffed Body Slam followed by a debuffed Power Whip, which is less efficient but does slightly more damage, and that should be enough to pick up the knockout here. So Body Slam lands, Power Whip lands, one more lick, and we take the win. Moving to the next match, oh, we see a terrible lead, Talonflame and a Lantern, save switch into Lickitung, in comes a Mandibuzz, and this game has started just about as bad as a game can start, completely hard counted on the lead and swap. The goal of the team was just trying to run a Pokemon that I think will win most of the leads based on what I'm seeing, and that's what it has been doing, but it's going really wrong in this game. This is really, really unfortunate, because Mandibuzz just completely dominates this Lickitung matchup. The Dark Pulse is going to connect. If my opponent for some reason just massively overfarms, I can force a shield, but they're probably not going to let me do that, and they're not. They're just going to throw their energy. Unfortunately, my Mandibuzz is pretty useless knowing that it's going to be stuck up against a Lantern, so I'm just going to be sending in the Mandibuzz, and unfortunately just using it to absorb this energy, because health on the Mandibuzz doesn't really do anything for me. I'm going to look to farm to 100. They make another move, and I think I'm just going to bank all this energy and then send in the Guzzlord. In comes the Guzzlord looking for the snipe in the back. Wait, it's a Sableye, and this might actually be winnable. They do not build up to a potential return, so I'm able to no-shield that, and now I'm going for the KO with the Crunch. A Dragon Claw will not be enough to knock out here. Opponent is going to commit the shield as I continue to farm with the Guzzlord. Guzzlord is going to be shielding. At this point, I think there might actually be a win con, but it's going to be very tough. I don't want to give up the final shield, so I will just throw my energy. Dragon Claw is going to pick up the KO. And they're going to be sending back in the Lantern. The Lantern is extremely healthy. Lantern firing off energy. I am going to respect their energy as they do go for the Surf. Going for the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw is going to apply some decent damage here. They're going to commit the shield. I'm going to try and commit to the Crunch, but I make a massive misplay and I throw on alignment and they punish it with a catch. That is so bad. And now I think I've lost. I have two moves loaded on the Talonflame. And here, I do make a misplay. I should have gone for a Flame Charge into a Fly, as it does slightly more, but even a Flame Charge plus a Fly is not enough damage to do... Actually, with the Incinerate, I think a Flame Charge plus a Fly may have been enough to KO there, but unfortunately, I went for the double Fly, and we're not able to overcome that hard counter. Hopping to the final match, greeted once again by a Sandslash. Opponent safe switches into the Annihilate, and again, at the very least, I'm running into the cores that I'm trying to target with the Talonflame. They're going to go for the Night Slash. Here, if I was staying in, I'd go for the Flame Charge, but I'm actually looking to switch out. So I'm going to go for this slightly cheaper Fly, and then send in Guzzlord. This is a calculated risk that since they're safe switching it, they don't have close combat. And they do only have Night Slash, which is good news for me, but then I make a misplay. I thought that they wouldn't be able to survive that and get to the Shadow Ball, but they do. I'm forced to go down a shield, and I don't think I'm going to be able to make it to 2 crunches. I could have fixed that pretty easily by just throwing a move before they were able to make it to the Shadow Ball, but I thought I could get the farm down. I misjudged it, and now this is a bit awkward. They have decent energy here on the Sandslash. They are very low, though. I send in the Talonflame, and I'm going for the fly because in the back, I see something that I was really hoping to see, and that's the Mantine. Mantine, while it is known for its bulk, Lickitung is just a little bit bulkier. So they're going to be firing off the Water Pulse. Water Pulse is the best DPE move that Mantine has, but it's still not going to be enough versus the Lickitung. Body Slam is going to be able to pressure the shield. They're going for another charge attack, but that's very okay, because again, this is not going to be enough to knock out. So I can withstand the damage, look to farm up, and I actually get the full farm down, and I exit with a Power Whip loaded. In hindsight, Slam definitely would have knocked out here too, but the Power Whip gets the job done as well. All in all, as I mentioned at the start, this is not a team that I would recommend other people trying. It was more based on the fact that I wasn't seeing any Bastiodon in the 28 to 2900s, but I was seeing like 50% of leads were like A-Slash, the rest were Charge-a-Bug, Annihilate, just a bunch of stuff weak to Talonflame. So I ended up trying it, and the team ended up having some nice results. If I tried the team again, I don't think I would have similar results, just because the meta can obviously shift from day to day as certain strategies find success and other strategies do not. But today was a day for Talonflame, and honestly, I haven't used it in quite some time. It was really fun to get to bring Talonflame off the bench and let it burn things. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.